if you are thinking of upgrading to a margin account from a cash account to sell or buy options, then this is the trading series for you, because what I'll be doing in the next few videos is walking you guys through what are the most important numbers that you need to understand when trading on margin. And then in future videos, we'll be placing trades, whether they're naked calls or naked puts, and to see how these numbers change as you grow your portfolio and new positions. I've decided to create the video series that I never had to really simplify this and really to give you an overview of how this works and how to margin trade successfully, but also small enough that you don't end up blowing your account and getting a margin call. So this is a demo account of Interactive Brokers. That's who I use to trade my live accounts. You can ignore things like daily P&L and realized losses, because I just wanted to close out all the positions and start with no open positions in this trading account. So you can see, how do we get to a number of 6.31k X liquidity? How do we get to a buying power of 25.24k? I will go through that in this video, because you need to understand which numbers are important, how they are calculated, and when you open positions, how these numbers get affected. So we'll be going through that, and we'll also talk about what these numbers look like in a cash account and then what they look like inside a margin account. So the first thing you need to understand is available funds, and the calculation of available funds is equity to loan value minus your initial margin. Now you might be thinking, what is equity to loan value and initial margin? Funny you should say that. If you've already looked at this, you can tell I've got the definitions. Again, I apologize in advance for my writing abilities on my iPad. Equity to loan value is your current cash in your account plus the stock value of your brokerage account. We can calculate equity to loan value with the data we have on the screen. So our cash balance is shown here in total cash, and that will be in USD. So that is $6,310 in cash. And our stock value, so I'm going to just put 6.3k here, and our stock value is 0 because we have no open positions in our portfolio. So we know that our equity to loan value is 6.3k. So actually, I can just put it up here, 6.3k. Now we need to understand what is our initial margin and what does that mean. Our initial margin means the margin required to open a new position. Now that is basically the amount of money you need in your account to be able to open a brand new position. Now, because we have no positions in our portfolio, we know that our initial margin is 0. So our available funds equals 6.3k because it's our equity to loan value minus our initial margin, which is 0. And therefore we have 6.3k of available funds. So now that brings us to our available buying power to open new positions. So our buying power equals the available funds, which we know is 6.3k, times by 4. So in a margin account for IBKR, it's times by 4. So if I get the handy dandy calculator and do 6.3 times by 4, you can see that number is 25.2, which you can see here, 25.24. So that's how the buying power is calculated. So every time you open a new position or an option position, you will be required to put up a bit of initial margin. So as you open positions, your buying power will go down. Now, for a cash account, your buying power is basically your total cash. So in the cash account, this will be 6.31k. Because we're on a margin account, we times it by 4, and that's how we get that position. So that is one of the first key things is if you want to know if you want to open new positions, you can see what your buying power is. And the good thing with IBKR is if you want to open a position, you can preview what happens to your equity to loan and your maintenance margin, all of these things to calculate, do I have enough buying power to open this position? And do I have enough margin to be able to hold this position if things start to go against me? So now we've talked about opening new positions. The next one is, which I think is the most important thing about managing positions and to make sure you don't trade too big, is your X liquidity. So your X liquidity is your equity to loan value, which we already know is 6.3K, minus your maintenance margin. Unlike your initial margin is the margin required to open a position, margin maintenance is the margin required to hold your position or to keep your position open. So at the moment, we've got no live positions. So we know our margin maintenance is 0 and we know our X liquidity is 6.3K. That is how this number is calculated. Now, if you are on a cash account, your cash will be the same as your X liquidity, because when you sell options, the amount that you need to put up or the margin required is 100% of your strike price. So if you were selling a $10 put, for example, on a margin, on a cash account, you would need, and you were doing one contract, you would need to put $1,000 in margin to be able to place this position, which is effectively coming out of your cash account. That is the standard definitions and how these numbers are calculated. As I mentioned before, you need to keep an eye on your X liquidity. If your X liquidity drops below 0, it means that IBKR will start liquidating positions, i.e. you will be margin called. One of the bad things or negative things about Interactive Brokers is that if you do go into a negative X liquidity, generally you are given a couple of days to put money into your account or close positions to become margin compliant. IBKR don't give you that benefit of saying, oh, FYI, you are below your negative X liquidity, here's 2 days to put money in your account. They will start liquidating positions. So it's important, and if you trade actively, you'll be watching this position every day, and you can get ahead of it if you do it. So that's why when you trade options and when it comes to your margin that you have available, you want to make sure that you are trading small enough that you have a big enough cushion of X liquidity when it comes to your margin maintenance. So if you want to increase your X liquidity without putting more money in, what you need is your stock value to increase, or you need to put less positions to decrease your margin maintenance, and therefore your X liquidity will rise. So once we start opening a few positions, you will see how this works. And we'll be using this demo account. We'll log into the demo account. And again, I just done this screenshot so you guys can understand this. But make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure that you, depending on when you're watching this, the next video in this series will be up. But hopefully that kind of makes sense. Any questions, comment down below or drop me an email, and I shall see you guys in the next video.